Hi, everyone. I'm Kyler from the Content Mix, and I'm happy to be here with Nilofar Humayun, Marketing Manager at Charles Taylor InsureTech. With over 100 years of experience in the insurance sector, Charles Taylor currently has over 3,000 experts based around the world in more than 120 locations and across 30 countries. Throughout her career, Nilofar has become an expert in capitalizing on multiple marketing channels in order to drive account-based marketing, event attendance, and brand awareness. With experience ranging from marketing analysis and research to work in product marketing and experience with social marketing strategies, Nilofar has dedicated her career to giving a voice to organizations that she's working for. So without much further ado, I want to welcome Nilofar to our show, and it's a pleasure to have you with us on the Content Mix.
Hi, Kyler. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
It's great to be on the podcast. Thank you.
Yes, it's good to be able to do this, even though Nilofar's connecting from London and I'm in Madrid. So it's really fun to be able to connect and talk and get some insight from you. So I guess to get the ball rolling and start the interview, where are you from? What's your background? Kind of tell us a bit more about how you got into content marketing in Europe.
Oh, gosh. I'd love to talk about myself.
Go for it. We're here for it.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Nilofar Humayun. I work for Charles Taylor InsureTech. I lead in all the marketing activities here. I'm a marketing professional with around 12 years of experience working here in the UK, mainly in London. I've worked my way up from a marketing graduate to now marketing overall activities. I've worked for Gartner previously, HSBC, and Gulf News in Dubai. I was actually born and bred in Dubai, and I went to university in London. So it was very, very multicultural. Originally my background's from Pakistan. So it's very like from Asia, the Middle East, the UK. And I think that's really helped me culturally and from a marketing perspective to understand different cultures and build different multi-channel campaigns. My connection to content marketing in Europe, and it's mainly been with EMEA. So it stems from my experiences growing up in the Middle East. My roles in the UK and the companies I mentioned previously, it's mainly been focused around EMEA. So I think that's where most of my experiences lie, and mainly in B2B.
Wow. No, and I think I totally agree with that, like in terms of the work that you do, and especially in marketing, as someone that also has lived in different cultures and has exposure to other cultures. It really opens your mind, right? To kind of understand how other humans function, and it kind of gives you this like awareness of what's going to be effective and what's not. So definitely really interesting that you have that background and how you're able to move to the UK. And I'm assuming you fell in love with the UK, no? So you're happy.
I've been here for like 14 years now. So it's different because in Dubai, the culture is very different. And here you just respect and understand different marketing, because the way I would market in the Middle East compared to the UK is very different.
For sure.
But I think growing up in different countries, it gave me that outlook to see what it looks like and how we can build into strategies.
Exactly. And what are some big differences? Like if you can like summarize, I'm sure there's plenty of them, but just like maybe an example of a big difference between the Middle East versus the UK.
So I think within the UK, where this is just my personal opinions and what I've seen here in the UK. So when I first came to the UK, and I was just, have you been to London, Kyler?
I have, yes, many times.
So when I first came here, and I just thought, why is everyone always running on the tube?
Super stressful.
So what's going on? Everyone's so stressful. But I think it's just not that in the Middle East as well, we are, of course, we have our working patterns, our working lifestyle. But I think in the UK, it's just it's a lot more fast-paced, and it's a lot more stressful. And that's why I think, from my experiences in the UK, we are more tech focused, because, like, for example, like even during lockdown, everything was ordering stuff to Just Eat, connecting through social media, Zoom calls, Zoom chats. Whereas in Dubai, it's a bit more relaxed, and we are a bit more personal. So I think it's just cultural differences. In Dubai, it's more of a direct approach, whereas in the UK, I feel it's more tech focused.
That's interesting. I never thought of it that way, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
The UK, especially London's like on the go and people are moving quick. It's kind of like the US. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a different approach, and you have to give people like quick answers, quick, information they want to consume quickly. So definitely will impact your marketing strategy for sure. And so you mentioned too, like you worked through lockdown, and I kind of want to know, like nowadays, since we're kind of, I don't know, in this new, they call it like normality or whatever you want to call it these days, but how are things for you, and like what's your daily life at work like now?
My role here at Charles Taylor, I have to wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
It involves very different areas of marketing. I'm currently also managing 2 team members, and they're great. They're very creative, intelligent, very proactive. So what I've been working on is I'm working on implementing the strategy with them, but looking more at the bigger picture. So trying to see what the future looks like. What we'll be doing, what will we be doing in 2022, and then actually working on creating a tactical plan. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. But also because I've joined in halfway through the year, looking at the current campaigns we have and how to optimize those. So that's why when I said wearing different hats, it's very much about looking at what we currently have, how to optimize those, plan ahead for next year. But in order to plan ahead for next year, I need to start now. So look at look at what needs to be done. Start strategizing, start planning. So next year, when it comes into play, it would have all been in place, and you just have to push start.
Right.
That's kind of what I've been doing. So it's fun. I really enjoy it. And my passion lies in project management. I like working through like different puzzle pieces to try and get them together.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it.
That sounds really fun. I like project management too. I used to do that. So I love like solving puzzles, but also must be like really difficult because a lot of people that we've spoken to on the show, they said like, going into 2020, they had all their strategies planned and then all of that got flipped upside down and they had to adapt. But then you're coming in to a new role, like in the midst of all of this, trying probably to like deal with things currently happening and not knowing what to expect right now, but also you're planning for a future that you have no control over.
Exactly.
We have no idea how things are going to be or what's going to be more effective or not, because it's been like the world's kind of been flipped upside down.
Yeah.
So definitely a challenging position that you find yourself in.
But I think what I've seen, and I'm sure you must have seen it on your side as well. We are, as a world, becoming more digitally focused. There is a huge digital transformation we're going through. And so no matter what happens next year, definitely digital is going to be a large part of it. And we are going to, think about it, with all of us in lockdown, we only had tech to connect with the world outside. So I think that's the future, tech and going digital.
I agree. It's like that one. I always say, like, imagine if we had to do all this without technology, and like.
Do you remember the dial-up days?
Yeah, right. We'd be very screwed. In that sense, we have no, especially as people with family abroad, and like, thank God we had that because of FaceTime and everything. It was really good to stay connected. But yeah, so things are shifting digital, which also then leads to kind of the next portion of our interview, which is something that you wanted to talk more about, social marketing mix strategy and kind of the work you do with that. So can you kind of tell us a bit more about that strategy, what it is, and kind of give a brief explanation, because I'm sure that you could probably talk about it forever. Passionate about,
So the reason why I chose social media to talk about more, I think with any marketing mix, social media plays a really crucial part. In all my experiences, I've focused mainly on B2B, as I mentioned earlier. But the reason why I believe social media is such a crucial part of the overall marketing campaign is because of digital transformation we just spoke about. At the end of 2019, with remote working and isolation, it provided more of a way for people to connect. It provided a way for other colleagues and other marketing, or even outside of marketing, having other individuals within businesses interact with each other, network with each other. So people really want to connect. And I think social media was the way that we found that was our loophole to try and still meet people virtually and connect and find out what's happening in each other's lives. It also provides a way for having a two-way dialogue. So, for example, with an email, you're waiting for them to respond, whereas with the social media, it's almost like a window into what your business is doing. So it provides, like me as a viewer, I can look at what other business is doing and how we can what's new in their industry, what's the latest updates, and it provides me a way to find out what's happening on their side rather than them approaching me.
For sure. So it's a totally different strategy and kind of the way, social media, how it's evolved. I mean, if you think about when Facebook came out, I remember that. And now it's like we have all these different platforms and all these ways, like you said, connecting with people. And I think that's what people are craving now, is that connection.
And I think it's changed a lot. So if you remember, this is me telling my age now, like High Five days. We had High Five and High Five and MySpace. They were the
MySpace,
ones that
I know. Yeah.
So these were the ones that were before Facebook, and they were just a way to network. It was just to make friends and network. But then Facebook happened, and LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of these have changed the way social media marketing is. It's become a fun way to advertise and market. And so rather than it being cold selling and just seeing an ad, it's a way to educate your viewers and also sell to them, but making it fun. And I think that's why people resonate well with it, because they maybe essentially don't know they're being sold to.
Right. Exactly. They have no idea.
So I think that's worked really well.
Is that why you find like a passion for this strategy or for social media? Is that you can bring kind of joy or positivity to people's lives?
Exactly. And I think because I'm quite creative naturally, I really enjoy different creatives. So whether it's creating an ad through video or a GIF or like animations, I enjoy that. And I think people also really resonate well with it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, but there must be some disadvantages, right? We're talking about all these positive things with social media and the social marketing mix strategy. But are there disadvantages that you've encountered as well?
I think some of the disadvantages would be, sorry, Kyle, I need to think of some disadvantages.
No.
I'm trying to think of some disadvantages, because all I've been thinking about is advantages.
Well, I mean, with social media in general, I think a lot of it, kind of the, not backlash, but it could be that people are trying to promote things that are inaccurate or, kind of manipulate people. I mean, there's definitely the dark side right, of social media. So I guess that's kind of why I was asking, like, have you found it, I don't know, that to be something you've encountered in terms of like the work you're doing, or other, maybe other organizations you've seen are doing things in a negative way, maybe?
I think what I could talk about is more around, so not necessarily a disadvantage, but one of the challenges with social media is thinking of the right platform to market on. So for example, as an organization, in my previous experiences, sometimes it could be LinkedIn's the best tool to use and Facebook is just not the right messaging for us. Or there might be times where Instagram and LinkedIn are a better combination. So I think more of a challenge is don't just use a blanket approach on all the different types of social media platforms. See what your business strategy is and what your brand guidelines are, what's your tone of voice, and use that. So for example, with LinkedIn, it's more professional. We all know that LinkedIn is more professional. That's the tone of voice for LinkedIn. With Facebook, in my experience, it's more around B2C rather than B2B. Instagram is a bit of both. So I think do some research first on the different types of platforms and what do you as a business, what kind of guidelines and tone of voice do you want to use? And then choose the right platform accordingly.
So now I'm curious to see, like, how you're doing this and implementing this strategy in your current role at Charles Taylor, because that's an InsureTech company. So kind of how are you doing, like, what are you doing with social media there, and kind of what's your strategy at the moment?
So what's working really well with us, and I think this is what I would recommend anywhere, is rather than just making content for the sake of making content, doing the research and take a step back, plan and analyze what it is that you want from your social media marketing. Are you trying to gain more leads? Are you trying to build more brand awareness? What is it that you want to do? Are you trying to drive traffic to your website? once you've analyzed and gathered what it is you would like to achieve, strategize and plan for it. And with social media marketing, what you do have to do is keep it fresh, keep it updated. And you use a mix of education, thought leadership, and then your product messaging or your service, whatever it is that you are selling. So having a mix of that. And what worked really well with me is to plan the content beforehand. So I know in the following month, I'll be promoting this. In the following month, I'll be promoting that. So it avoids having to like I said, provide content just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And it keeps fresh and people know that this thing's coming, and it helps them be educated while still learning about what you're doing and your company is doing. I think that's worked really well for us.
I think a lot of people forget that. Like, I think we're in a culture, right, or a society where instant gratification, we got to do things fast, too quick. And something that we mentioned, right, in the UK is something that's really part of their culture there, is that it's just, people are on the go, they want it fast, and they forget, like, we should probably take time, right, to plan the strategy. And like you said, not just post things for the sake of it. Now, I kind of want to hear more too about like your approach to like getting the right target persona, understanding the people you're trying to connect with, because I think that's also something that people struggle with, is like that human side of social media marketing. Because I think a lot of times we can see, okay, we just want numbers and we just want to connect with these people just to hit a goal, but we're maybe not even doing enough research about the people we actually want to connect with. So how has that been for you in your experience, like getting that human approach and making sure that the person's not just a screen and kind of lost behind the screen?
So what's worked really well for me, and I give kudos to the team. I work very closely with the product marketing management team, and what they do is we work together. We work together on building messaging, building persona. So they help build the personas. We look at the job titles, we look at the industry types, we look at what's happening in the market, and then we work together to build a portfolio. So then I work on building portfolio job titles, the industry types, looking at ages, geographical locations. So with social media marketing, you have to be as targeted as you can,
as possible.
Because if you're providing all this content and it's not relevant, you're just wasting your efforts and your revenue. So I think that's what worked really well. So I've been lucky enough to have a great product marketing team that I work with. And we work very closely together. So I think that's worked really well for us.
And how do you, so like the company, as I said before, is like very big and it's international. Like how do you think the buyer persona and your target audience changes in the different markets that you work in, or in different countries? Because we know EMEA, it's like very big region. So kind of how do you navigate that, and kind of what is your buyer persona?
So it depends on the project. So we have around 11 projects, and each project has a specific solution that we help. We target a specific challenge. So each product has its own persona, its own messaging, its own criteria that it helps solve. And definitely we have to evolve. So it's not one blanket approach for all the different industry types. And I think that's what's worked well. So if I look at it from a social media marketing, I can then build imagery accordingly. I can use fun creatives for a specific industry type, looking at their personas, the type of which country, like you said, which country they're from, which region, what industry type. I can build a story on it. And that's worked really well for me in the past. So building imagery around that, building messaging, and then carrying that story on. So each campaign has its own story, and I think that's worked really well for me.
Yeah. No, I have to ask. So because we're talking about social media, which is your favorite platform to use, like as a consumer, I guess, and what's their favorite one to work with, I guess?
Okay, that's a really good question.
I'm just curious now. It kind of came to my mind.
Of course,
I have to ask.
Of course. No. As a consumer, I really enjoy Instagram. I enjoy the reels and trying to make fun videos, the voiceovers, music, the filters. I really enjoy that. And because I get very targeted ads. So I've chosen the ads I would like to, of course, being a social media marketer myself, I know what to do. So I've chosen the ads I would like to view, and I get ads that I am interested in. And I really enjoy Instagram. But as a marketer, and again, more for B2B, this is why I said it depends on the type of tone of voice that your company is looking for. We've used LinkedIn. LinkedIn's worked really well. And I really enjoy creating campaigns on LinkedIn because there's so much you can do. You've got LinkedIn carousel, LinkedIn text ads. You've got so many more. You can do videos on it and retargeting. And there's also an option where you can put in a pre-approved list of contacts that you would like to target, and you can choose specific ads that they can see. You can create and upload specific creators for those lists. So that's why I think there's so much you can do. Yeah. And that's worked really well in my experiences.
And how is that pre-approved? Is that the people give their consent for you to give them
correct
ads?
Okay. Yeah. So when they have, it's either through a campaign in the past or perhaps a lead gen form that they have filled in. So they give consent, and it's still very relevant. And if, for example, I've used that for retention strategies. Okay. So because their clients are already part of the business, or if there was something like perhaps a new event that we were doing, I could target them with that ad about the event. So it's still relevant to them, and they know who we are. So it's just saying this is an event happening in a few months. Don't miss out. So that's worked really well.
That's fantastic. And I feel like LinkedIn too had really stepped up in the past couple of years. Like I remember when it first came out, it was kind of like, okay, but now it's like, there's so many different tools, like you said, and strategies, and really kind of a great place to connect with, potential customers or clients, but also with those other people that like we connected, through LinkedIn. Yeah. So it's just nice to like kind of have that network. And like you said before, Definitely. Like we can't do in-person things. So it's been a really cool way to like still make connections, but completely online.
And LinkedIn has another tool of the sales navigation. So that's also worked really well for us. So then you can marry that up with your CRM that you have. Exactly. So it's quite integrated, which I really enjoy.
Which is really cool. Now I have to ask too, because we talk so much about social media, but also your past experience. What's an example of a campaign or a strategy that you've used in your career that has been very successful, and why was it successful?
So this is actually a campaign that I worked in my previous experience at Gartner. So this is something about me, actually. I really enjoy events marketing. If I had to choose one marketing area to focus, I would have chosen events marketing. And so this was a case scenario of an event. We were looking at five different audience types for one event. So it was very challenging because you're essentially building 5 sub campaigns within one large campaign. And I think this is why I said I really enjoy creating campaigns on LinkedIn, because I was able to build a story for each of the 5 audience types. And I created sub-themes for each of the audience types, and created creatives for it, and then played around with animation, played around with GIFs. But what really worked really well, because it was an event, building them into campaign stages. So the first stage was around educational, what they would achieve by coming to the conference, what knowledge they would be gaining, the thought leadership. Then it was more around like case studies, testimonials, hearing from other past attendees. And then it was more around the actual event itself, the benefits of the event. So that worked really well. And we had a really successful campaign. So I think that was one of my most proud moments.
Yeah, for sure. And it seemed like you did a lot of comprehensive research and kind of were able to get like a well-rounded vision of what needed to be done in terms of strategy.
Exactly. And I think what worked really well was the planning and strategizing for that as well. So that's why when I said earlier about actually planning ahead and getting into place what you would like to put out in each month or even every 2 weeks if you want. It depends on how how long of a timeline you have or how short of a timeline you have, or planning all of that in advance.
Right. That's fantastic. Now, I also have to ask too, to kind of be devil's advocate, but as someone that you've worked in social media, but you also you're a fan of Instagram, you consume social media yourself. What are some things, like maybe a campaign or something that an organization does that you say, ooh, that's not right? Kind of something that you recommend someone not to do, basically.
I think sometimes some adverts can be a bit pushy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also it depends on how much of a brand reputation and how much of a brand presence you have. If you are a new company or just coming out into the market, you would need to build your brand credibility first, build brand awareness. Why you? Why not another company? What's unique about you? What is it that you are trying to help viewers with? So is it something you're helping them solve? Is it a need that you help provide? So rather than going in cold and just selling coldly, I would say build that brand, build that reputation, build that credibility, and then talk into your product.
Exactly. It's all about storytelling, right? I think a lot of people forget that when we're doing marketing or social media or content marketing, it's all about telling the story. And I think that's like, people forget that. It's more, I think sometimes they want to just put the product in your face and say, yeah, 1999, here it is. Yeah. But I think people really, I feel comfortable or are more attracted to brands like, CocaCola is like the, ideal brand, right? They've done not only, I actually was speaking to someone that worked at CocaCola, not for the podcast, but for something else. And I was just telling them, like, as an American, like, it's very much part of our culture and it's just a can of soda, but they've told great stories to their marketing. I mean, they're the ones that invented Santa Claus in the red jacket. So it's kind of like they have done so much culturally and it's just, and that's like what it is storytelling. They tell great stories.
And I think with Coca-Cola, what they've done is they have a global, like when we're talking about regions just now and geographical locations, even growing up in the Middle East, we had whatever was new. If there was a new celebrity or a new song that was out, they were on it.
Yes.
the ad would have it. Have the new celebrity, have the new song, have the new campaign around it. So they know they're keeping up to date on whatever's happening in each region, and they're using that in their tools.
Yeah, which is very important. And to be aware of those things and make sure you're localizing everything to reach your audience. Now, I have to ask too, if someone is more interested in learning more about social media marketing, the mixed strategy, and everything we talked about now, what are some resources that you would recommend to them to kind of get started or to kind of do some further reading?
So I personally have registered with the Chartered Institute of Marketing and also the Institute of Digital Marketing. So I read, I get newsletters from both those institutes and reading up on blogs, but also just keeping up to date with the actual social media platforms themselves. So LinkedIn has a tool called LinkedIn Learning. It tells you what's happening, what's new, what the new trends are, and you can learn about different strategies, different ways of marketing through LinkedIn. So I think a bit of both.
Yeah, it's important. And it's constant learning, right? And staying up to date. And I think it's really important. So I think that question, not only is it targeted to someone that doesn't know much about it, but even people who are involved with it, we got to keep learning all the time, daily, and reading new research and new sources for sure. Now, we're kind of shifting towards my favorite part of the interview, which is the recommendations. And I kind of wanted to know, personally and professionally, some of your favorite recommendations that you kind of are hacks or productivity tools that you use on a daily basis. So kind of what are some daily habits that you have that you would consider that contribute to your success, like your daily success, professional success, especially in this past year where we've kind of all reevaluated, the habits we've had and kind of how to stay mentally sane and physically and in shape and all these different things being stuck at home. So what are some daily habits or productivity hacks that you have?
So of course, the last year has been difficult for all of us. Working remotely from home. I haven't been in an office since almost a year and a half now.
Wow.
I just went into the office last month for the first time, and it was surreal. It was very different. Wow, I'm actually traveling into London. What's going on here?
What is this?
So I think what's worked really well, and this is with really focusing on your mental health. So yes, we've all been about mean, I think about it. Before 2020, we were all in a rush. It was all eat, sleep, repeat.
Yeah.
So eat, sleep, work, repeat. Sorry. So it was very much like, I don't know about you, but it was very fast paced. We didn't take time out to actually sit and live in the moment and breathe. And I think that's worked really well for me because it was an uncertain time for all of us. Nobody could see this happening. Nobody could see this coming in. But I think trying to stay positive. What worked really well for me is meditating. Personally for me, so I took some time to just meditate, and even going out for walks. So going out even around my block, because obviously when you're in a 9 to 5 work life, you don't really have time to just explore your area around you, see what's on your street, having a walk around your block, and just spending time with your family, spending time with family and friends, and then I think keeping a good work life and home balance, that worked really well for me. And then I think once for me, it was focusing on the mental health. I then used the time to upskill. So when you were talking about how to keep up to date, that's when I registered with the Chartered Institute of Marketing and IDM to try and upskill, use that time, learn more. And with work, with a 9 to 5 lifestyle, I wasn't taking enough time to actually get myself up to speed, get myself upskilled. And it took, I think it was really good to use that time to just learn what else was happening in the market, what the latest trends are. Yeah, it
was good to use the time to dedicate to your crafts, but also to yourself, your mental and physical health, and just learning to appreciate the things that you have in your life, whether it be your walks, as you said, or seeing your family and friends. It's so important. And I think these are although, we talk about COVID and it's all negative and it's been, the worst year ever, but I actually think a lot of good things come out of it, whether it be personal or on a bigger scale. So a lot of it in my case too, is good habits and kind of learning, I need to take a mental break or I need to disconnect for a bit and kind of prioritizing what's important in life. Because we realize life's very short and we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So those are really, really good, tips. I think meditating is really, it's really a great one and important.
Yeah, definitely. Like my husband and I, we both work, and before 2020, it was just, like I said, work, eat, sleep, repeat. But we got some time to actually go out for walks together, spend some time together, and just live in the moment.
So important. Now, a lot of people, I'm sure, are going to listen to this episode and be and take inspiration from you. But I kind of wanted to know if you have any professional role model or a source of inspiration that has kind of pushed you in the direction that you're going now in your career.
I've actually had a number of inspirations. Both my managers at Gartner and my current experience at Charles Taylor, they're both really successful leading women. And why I was really inspired was that we would look together at what was coming next, what's happened, and I received the support I needed. And it wasn't just focusing on professional development and career development, but even me as a personal level, understanding what is it that I liked, what is it that I enjoyed. And I think that when you get that appreciation from senior leadership, it inspires you to do more. And personally, it's my family, my parents, my husband, my sister, brother-in-law, their kids. We've come from a line of really hardworking professionals. Everyone's doing something out there or the other. So and when we're together as a family, you just feel like everyone's accomplishing something, and it drives you to do more. So I think that's what's really inspired me personally and professionally.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of times when I ask that question, a lot of people might think, oh, professional or this, big name person, but your family or your friends really can inspire you in a kind of not in surprising ways, I guess you could say. They're not directly working with you in the office every day and working maybe they understand what you do 100%, but they're supporting you. They're giving you, setting examples in their own lives that you can, adapt and bring into your own. So it's really nice to hear that. Because family is important and friends too. Yeah. Now, do you have any other recommendations in terms of apps or tools, platforms, or books? You mentioned LinkedIn Learning as something that you like to use, but I was wondering if you have anything else, whether it be marketing related or personal.
I think more than apps or the tools, I would say more around tips. So if there's anything, even networking and learning from your colleagues. So one of the things you started, Kyler, with this podcast was saying how we can all learn from each other. So whether it's your senior leaders or junior team members, every idea counts. And whatever you can gather from each other, I think that's worked really well for me. So something that we used to do in my previous experiences was, let's say, a campaign, if it was trailing behind or needed a bit more effort for any reason, we would all come together as a team. We'd all book a meeting room in, back when we were in the office, book a meeting room and understand how we could help the colleague build on their campaign and achieve their target. And that teamwork, I think, it was something that brought us together as a team, but also it helped each other understand, okay, because we as individuals have different ideas, we have different ways of thinking, like, oh yeah, I haven't tried that, let me try that. So I would think working together as a team was also one of the things that worked really well for me.
That's perfect. No, I really like that. And it's a really good tip to I don't know, be more observant, right, of people that we work with, and that every idea is a good idea. It's just kind of how you view it and what you take from it as well. So speaking of takeaways, we're kind of at the end of the interview. Unfortunately, I feel like we could talk a lot longer. You have really great insight in a lot of things. But I guess if we had to give 2 or 3 takeaways from what we've spoken about today, what would you tell our listeners? Like, what are the main takeaways from this conversation?
So I think I've probably taught enough about strategizing and planning and executing, but test and optimize. So always test. Something that worked really well for me in my past experiences, testing different types of creatives. So whether it's just whether you want to use a static image or if it's a GIF or a video, try different things. Don't be afraid of trying different types of platforms, different types of ideas, because if it doesn't work, you can switch it off and try something else, but you wouldn't know until you don't test. And optimize. So once you've done your LinkedIn execution or whichever platform's execution you're doing, you do need to optimize and stay up to date, stay fresh, see what else you could do out there. And I think that's one of my key takeaways.
And be open-minded, right? Observe, take things in, and welcome change. Something we've all had to do in the past year and a half. But you also mentioned before that you're active on LinkedIn, but what's the best way to get in touch with you? If a listener kind of wanted to reach out or, ask for insight, what would be the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn's the best way. Since I graduated in London many years ago now, I've used LinkedIn as the best platform to stay in touch with. So I think that's the way. Yeah, if there's anything I can help with, any tips or ideas, please reach out.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Nilofar, for sharing your insights with us today on today's episode. We really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for listening in. So for more perspectives on the content marketing industry in Europe, as always, you can check out VeraContent.com/mix and keep tuning in to the podcast for more interviews with content experts across Europe. See you all next time. Thanks again.
Thank you.